Hello again. We're going to try this again with my buddy Pat Hogan from my fraternity days about 30 something years back. 30. Oh, Christ. It's a long time ago, Pat.
Yep. Let's see, 2018,
No, you don't have to do all the math. That's
yeah.
We don't.
I think
I
35.
hate reminding them how old I am, especially late. Since I spoke to you, I think I talked to like two girls, and they were combined age. They were still less than I am by about 4 years, 5 years. So, this is episode 109, the lost episode, Delta Iota. Right, Pat?
Yes.
And that's the name of our chapter. We decided that would be a good idea because we won't be indemnifying our group as much.
Yes.
And Pat, you live up in Hollywood right now.
Hollywood, Florida, but I have lived not all over the world, but I lived in Asia and Las Vegas, and of course up north in Jersey and Pennsy.
Yeah.
And Hawaii for a spell.
Yeah, and we went to school in Philadelphia.
Yes. Drexel University.
Drexel University.
Yep. Yeah.
Yep. And what could be better than our experiences back in the fraternity days? It was just, I think I'm going to turn off my headphones so I don't hear my voice talking back. You hear me still, Pat?
Yeah, we're good.
Good. Okay, I don't need to hear myself. At 35th and Race, we were mainly a beer group. We weren't, hard liquor. Not like University of Pennsylvania.
No,
where drinking highballs.
We did. Well, first of all, hard liquor was too expensive for college kids. Number one.
Yeah.
And when we did want to do something exciting, it was grain alcohol, which you'd mix with Kool-Aid.
Yeah. We had a pretty sweet setup there, because Drexel was an engineering school. The fraternity house they built a keg cooler, and when they would deliver beer, it was funny because kind of brings you back to this Brett Kavanaugh days. You could have some 19-year-old kid receiving the beer delivery from some guy from a company that was just deliver kegs to you. We used to get kegs of was it just
right to the basement window?
Bud and Miller or something like that? What, I forget.
Well, no, we couldn't afford those. No. We would drink Schmitz, Genesee, whatever the cheapest ones were. I remember they were like $22 a keg or something like that. It was pretty cheap.
Wow, $22 a keg.
Usually the cheapest beer you could get. Yeah.
And I remember they had this elaborate system for the kegs.
It was basically like a walk-in refrigerator. They were using air conditioners to kind of make the enclosement cold on the inside, and then the tubes with the beer would run out of that refrigerator unit along the ceiling, insulated along the ceiling of the basement, and then down the post and into this two large coolers. I believe they had these aluminum coils in them.
Yeah. And they never put ice in it.
No, they did. You pack it in ice. You pack the coils in ice, and then as the beer comes out the tap, it's actually so cold that it's got ice crystals forming on top of the beer. It was the coldest beer on campus.
Oh, really?
It was ingenious. Yes, it was ingenious.
Oh, yeah.
Great setup.
Oh, man.
I tell people about that all the time. That setup.
I don't remember that as much. I don't recall that.
Well, because as a pledge, I had to be behind the bar pouring the beers on a lot of the parties, and so that's how I got to know the system. And I had to tap a lot of kegs, and I had to accept a lot of deliveries.
I told you I was one of those. I was one of those spring pledge class guys.
Right.
And there was only four of us. Dave.
Oh, so Linda, you were a prime then.
Dave, Linda, and Rob. Yeah. And Dave, Linda, and Rob, and I. And I think I came in 2 weeks after everyone.
Nice.
I know. They came in. It was Doug and Kevin Richardson. They all came in these guys. these friends in our fraternity house, they came in, and what happened, I won't give all the secrets away, but I felt kind of bad coming in late in the season, and I only had it was only 10-week terms, and it was an 8-week pledge class for me.
I think that's right. Yeah.
Yeah, and I had my ROTC and stuff like that, and I think I didn't hang out as much. I'd be there during the parties, but I don't remember pouring too many beers. I was lame. I was a lame pledge.
Well, they might
I
have
had very few signatures, but I showed up for a hell weekend.
Yeah.
I think I swallowed a goldfish or two, and they weren't doing that. I think I just jumped ahead and did that. But we're not trying to give away all our secrets there.
Oh, I think every fraternity in the country has some form of a goldfish.
Yeah,
going on.
Yeah, I now to this day I wouldn't. Oh God, I kind of regret that because I'm more Buddhist now. Saw a live fish, going down. He must have thought, oh, what the hell? Where am I going now? Okay, we had that was having a fish tank in a fraternity was a precarious, kind of life for the fish. If you think about it, you have all these parties, and and fucking people walking around with their beer and
spill it in the tank.
Yeah, they just pour it in the tank, but there was always that one fish that lived, the Oscar, that lived in our tank, always survived. Every other fish would die, and there was one fish that always lived, and it was kind of cool, I mean, why a bunch of guys would want a fish tank anyway? What?
Somebody must have come up with the idea. I'm not sure of the origin, or how long it was there before I got there. Or how long it lasted after I left. Yeah,
I mean, there were some strange. We had some interesting people in there, and remember it was JC, and JC. I think he was in his late 20s. Kind of.
Yeah, when I was there, he was the guy that was like a perpetual college student. Like he should have graduated years before I arrived, but he was still there and.
He should have graduated before I even came in before I showed up. Like there were guys graduating the year before I arrived that were in with him the whole time. So I think he was I think he was 30 or something like that.
Could have been.
And then there was a guy in your class. We talked about that before too. The big dude. What was his name? You remembered his name.
Hold on. Oh, the older John Bear.
Yeah, John Bear. Yeah, and he kind of like an old school. He was that guy, just
I think he was a senior in his senior year, but he was friends with a lot of the guys in the house, and I think as his final act before leaving school, he wanted to get the experience.
Yeah, but I think he was a little older when he started college.
Yeah, he's on the Facebook page, and he does keep in contact with a lot of folks too. So he's still involved in that way. Yeah.
Yeah, our chapter disappeared for how long? Was it off campus?
I'm trying to think when that happened. It was I don't know if it was after 2000 or before 2000, but
almost 20 years.
Recently come back.
Yeah. Yeah, that was almost 20 years.
Yeah.
I
think it was because the lease on the house, I think, didn't get renewed or something. Because the school, the university owned the house and repurposed it.
Oh, really? Okay. Well, that's
something
good to
like
know.
That.
Well, that's good to know. You don't want any of those problems hanging over. There was a couple houses that I was surprised that they stayed around.
I recall hearing stories about one of the other houses having issues with drugs or something, but when Polylam ended, it was because I think of the house itself. There was no physical house.
Yeah.
And I think without an actual house, I think that's where the membership died off. It's kind of hard to get people to join when there's no house.
Yeah, and then it'd be just a social fraternity, which
Yeah.
it's
Exactly.
kind of tough. I was really surprised that they got the animus to start a fraternity, considering how fraternities are thought of nowadays.
Yeah, and that's why I think what our fraternity stands for is what drove them. It was able to drive people into, especially in today's culture. And you think about when you and I joined, diversity was not a thing, right? That's what made us unique.
Yeah.
The fact that we take everybody. We weren't a Jewish fraternity. We weren't a black fraternity. We weren't a jock fraternity.
Yep.
We were just a fraternity, and everybody was welcome.
Yep.
Race,
yeah,
color,
we were
creed,
like
no
that
prejudice.
fraternity, the one that was oh God, what was that movie?
Oh, you're thinking what? Not Revenge of the Nerds?
Not Revenge of the Nerds. No, actually, there was some we had some nerds. Yeah, we had some nerds, but we were diverse. We had some jocks. We had some nerds.
Right.
We had no. It's a movie that wasn't as big as Revenge of the Nerds. Jeremy Piven was in it, and Jon Favreau was in it. And it wasn't quite a fraternity. It was just a group of people living in a house.
Oh, you're thinking old school.
Not old school. Oh, we were more diverse than old school. Yeah. But old school's pretty good. If you threw a couple women in, because the old school did a couple misogyny things because they had the naked KY wrestling.
Right.
We didn't do that, but there were other houses that did stuff like that, and if you were into that, that's that. And I think nowadays, they're just going by. They're dying out. Those ones. Ones. I remember going to, and I went to a. I don't want to say the name of it, but it's one of the bigger fraternities, and they had hired a woman who was not. I don't even know if she was a stripper. I think she was more professional than that.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
And that was certainly
put on a show for the boys. Yeah.
Yeah, and it was not a good vibe there. I'll tell you that.
Yeah.
It was worse. Yeah, it was worse than any gentleman's club. There were very few gentlemen there.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
my point about how they've rebuilt it today with this new group is that I think our mission statement, whatever you call it, our credo about the whole diversity thing is more relevant today than it was in the early 80s. And the guys that are joining today grew up in a different world than we did. I mean, my high school graduating class, I think we may have had a handful of African Americans and maybe one or two Asian kids that were exchange students, but we were predominantly all white school, and mostly all Christian, with a few, Jewish or something. But then you look at the schools today; it's very, very diverse, and so when you grow up more diverse, you're more accepting to be, you're drawn to that. That's why I think it's more relevant today than it was then, or when it was created. At least that particular chapter in '65.
Yeah, but, 65. I think it was there was just in the middle of the '60s, and there was a movement for. There was but it was mainly on the collegiate level where you had people coming out and they wanted it, peace and love and equality.
Equality,
yeah. And Delta Iota started out that's the chapter. So I didn't mention our fraternity at the time. I guess it was Pi Lambda Phi. We'll just say that. And
there's nothing wrong with saying that. I'm proud of it.
Yeah.
Because of that. That's why I joined. Personally, that's why I joined.
Yeah.
Because I wanted
I'm proud. I'm proud. I was thinking about the service to the fraternity. I wanted to talk about not doing a disservice to them. I'm not proud of it. I remember. I remember I didn't want to join a fraternity for that. I thought it was elitist.
We had a lot of fun like you do with a fraternity, but there were still other good things about it.
Yeah. I think we had a golf night. We had a golf night one time. Bourbon Fest, we called it. I don't know. It wasn't Bourbon Fest. It was like a golf night, and each room was You go and get your card punched in each room, and they'd have a drink there. Okay. And I think the room, in my room, we were drinking bourbon.
Right. Because whoever lived in the room had to come up with, I guess, their drink or whatever. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. That was a mess. I remember that. Cleaning up after a party was always fun. You know, you go and get a bucket of water, and you just at the end you're just swishing around filthy water on the floor. But I mean that's the way guys lived then. You know, I think it was pretty fun. And we did talk about there's different levels of comfort levels with how people were when they were using bathroom etiquette. Remember, I told you.
Yes. You brought.
Yeah, I'd be sitting there brushing my teeth, and then some guy would come in and just sit down on a tank and start taking a shit. And I was like, oh, God.
I could never do that.
Yeah. No, it was Mike Hunt. Remember Mike Hunt?
Yeah.
And he goes, hi, Jimmy, like that. And I'm brushing my teeth. Just sits there. I said I would do it. I was up so early. I think, oh, man, these guys, you know, I'd come back. I'd have a cup of coffee when I go to do my reserve thing, and then I'd come back and change out of uniform sometime. And they were in there. And then because of the hot water tank issues, if you wanted to be the first guy to get in there, because probably 9, between 8 and 9, there was no hot water really.
Right.
You know, there was only one tank for each side of the house.
Yes, and it wasn't a huge tank, and these houses weren't meant for, you know, how many, 30 guys or more living in them at one time.
Yeah, and it was funny that being a house of engineers, there were guys on the lower level. They had a radiated heat. It's an older home. It was we said it was kind of like an old twin, right?
Yeah, side by side house with a shared porch.
Yeah, so one heater, if I'm not correct, or maybe 2. The one heater on either side. So
radiant heat.
Yeah, and the guys on one of the floors, they had a fan. They turned their fan over in the winter on the radiator, right? And they were blowing it around. And you know, in a jock fraternity, no one would know that they're stealing heat, but they were stealing heat because that radiator system that would go throughout the whole house. And when the water got up to the top, it was significantly cooler than it would have been if they hadn't had the because radiated heat, just, you know, water's just flowing through and it goes back into a big circuit. But it was getting a lot cooler in that room, and that room was always hot. And they were telling them to turn the damn fan off, and it really didn't. The people said, you could put a fan on yours upstairs, and they said, well, it really wouldn't work because you already stole most of the heat out of it.
Right.
And it did feel, but they said, but then they got in an argument and saying, well, heat rises, so it really doesn't matter because you're getting the residual heat coming off from our room. And you have these arguments going back, you know, this, you know, doing Bernoulli's equation on how air heat is conducted through a surface and all that stuff. And I'm going, oh, shit, come on, just shut up and turn the fan off or something like that. Make them happy. And we'd had the big shared meals. We had a poor, and that girl. They would have young, pretty girls come in to cook the meals.
It depends. They got paid to do it, so they would do the shopping and cook the food, but then the brothers would serve and clean food and clean up after.
But I mean, these girls would come in to work, and they never had a fear of doing it. You know what I mean? They just come in there and do it.
No.
No.
Yeah. I actually did it one summer, I believe. It was, I'm trying to think. Yeah, it was the summertime. It was it was just before I left school the second time when I was living in a house. And whoever was living there during the summer, there was less of us, but I did it for, I forget. I think whoever was supposed to be cooking was not available for like a month or something. So I did it for like a month.
What was your specialty? What was your specialty for a month? Did you?
I was good with pasta. Like I made like a whole crap load of meatballs in the oven and sausage. I made a big pot of marinara and just served spaghetti, meatballs, and sausage with garlic toast. That
Yeah,
was
and you'd
a
get,
winner. I make a pretty good gravy.
and it was, and if you were, if you weren't going to be around for that, you just call, you just leave a message. Hey, could you make up a plate for me? And
Yeah,
they'd have it sitting in
yeah,
the fridge. I remember that. That was,
yep.
uh,
Leftovers would be in the fridge.
yeah.
There
So,
was a nice kitchen too. I mean, it was old, but it was a big kitchen. You had that big table in the middle,
yeah,
big refrigerator. You had enough burners on the stove. You had a little hood system. It was pretty decent sized kitchen.
yeah. I just remembered the layout of it. But then we had the soda machine
With
filled
beer.
with beer, and that was what,
Yep.
50 cents?
50 cents for a beer, and the money was enough to always keep replenishing the product and turn a slight profit.
Yeah, yeah.
So
It's
it paid
good we
for
didn't
itself.
try to do it on the honor system. When I was in the Navy, we had the honor system for soda on a boat we were on,
And that didn't
and
go well.
no, I had to run around chasing it from grown-up men, getting money from them,
Yeah.
25 cents a
Yeah.
soda. And
Yeah.
I'd have to go to one of the officers and say, "Hey, listen, could you tell this guy? I mean, I'm 19 years old. I'm trying to get this 35-year-old petty officer to pay up," and he's just laughing at me, and I'm like, "Come on, oh God, it's always tough." But that's the way the house was. So some of the funny things that happened. My real life brother was Pat's pledge brother, Ted.
Yes. Ted. Yeah.
And Ted was a character.
And my roommate. Yeah.
Yep. My brother had different color hair when he was in there, right? Did he have purple hair
He
one time?
yeah. It was the 80s. It was back when Flock of Seagulls was big, and so people had weird hairdos back then.
Yep.
People experimented with their looks,
And my brother had
the way they dressed.
yeah, yeah. He had a snake and a cat.
Yeah, and a cat.
Yep.
He had the cat when I was his roommate.
Yeah. He had the snake escaped the year, and they were all pissed at him when the snake got out. And engineers aren't animal biologists. They just get all freaked out around animals. They just don't relate well. I remember, God, who was it? No, it wasn't Steve Green. It's the other dude, and he just screams in the middle of the day, screaming, real high pitch. I come downstairs, and he goes, "It's a fucking rat, and it's a little tiny mouse." And it could have been a baby rat, but it was a little tiny mouse just sitting up, in the middle of the floor. And I said, "That's a mouse, man. Come on, it's not like a."
We had both of them. We had roaches, we had mice, and we had rats. Rats were in the garbage shed.
Oh, big rats.
Yeah, well, remember we used to go out there and you'd scare them out of the shed, and as they came running out of the shed, they would hit them with shovels to kill them.
I don't remember that.
It was
I'm glad I.
Well, you did it when you were drunk. And nobody's going to go into a garbage shed when they're sober to scare the rats out. But yeah, I recall us doing that a few times. Rat patrol.
Really?
Yeah.
Hey, did you ever go to?
Go ahead.
Okay. The Rat Patrol, and what was the name of the parking lot behind us?
Oh, well, was it actually a formal parking lot, or was it just an undeveloped piece of land?
Undeveloped. It was just land that no one had.
It just had rocks on it, yeah. But you could people park their cars up in there.
Yeah, Dog Shit Acres, they called it.
There, yes, that's it. You're right.
Dog Shit Acres. I remember that. I remember I was trying to. Had alternate street parking one day, and I had to move my car, and I ran out, and I told this story that on the last episode, but we took it off because of bad audio. I was backing down the street. Right, it was February, backing down the street with flip flops on, t-shirt, jeans, no wallet, no lights at night, and the cop comes up right behind me, and he just gives me a ticket, and it's just a appear at court with registration and license because he didn't want to wait around. And when I went down to the municipal court, to the traffic court, I'm ready to present my license and saying my license was expired. But the lady there were so many people there presenting, she didn't even look at it. She just checked off the thing.
Employee.
And but I recall a lot of stories like that. There was only a couple stores in that neighborhood, but we'd always every night there was another party, right? There was Monday night was apple pie. Tuesday night was teak.
Yeah.
We were Thursday?
We were Thursday nights.
So it was Pie Cap, I think. Well, Wednesday was Pie Cap.
Yes, it was us and Pie Cap was Thursday. Of course, everybody did something on Friday, Saturday, but I believe on Friday, Saturday, we went to other people's parties.
Yeah.
Instead of trying to do our own.
Well, which was great, because we just do our Thursday night. We had a pretty good Thursday one going. I remember going to one, the guys at, my buddy Charlie was at Pie Cap, and it was cold. It was February. It's like 20-something degrees outside. But the guys built a wooden structure where they put a heavy plastic tarp inside it, and then they ran a hose from their hot water heater and filled it up outside.
Oh, they made like a hot tub or something.
Yeah, I was sitting out there with a couple of guys and girls who were sitting in their underwear out there in the middle of January. Thought, God, no wonder. I mean, I can imagine that now it's kind of gentrified there, but imagine, a bunch of college kids in their underwear. But that was, there were all college kids in that. There were very few people that lived in that neighborhood who weren't.
Yeah, because even most of the homes around us were rentals for students or maybe some teachers. We did have a neighbor, though, that didn't like the noise, and we used to pee on his house.
What, the one?
The neighbor to the right, because we had nobody to the left. So, yeah.
Oh, yeah, we were on the corner. Yeah.
Yeah. So he would complain from time to time about the noise, and when we had too much beer, we'd pee on. Well, I think we peed on the fence, not his house, but peed on the fence facing his house.
Yeah. I went into we were in the middle of West Philadelphia, and West Philadelphia is certainly an urban environment.
Yeah.
And I went into the Cheetah Lounge several times for drinks.
Where was the Cheetah Lounge back there?
The Cheetah Lounge was the one near the bridge, the Spring Garden Bridge.
Oh, I never went out that far.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. No, well, it's right where the art museum, near where the art museum came. That bridge from the art museum. What was that? What bridge was that?
Yeah. I know what you're talking about. Yeah, I didn't have a car, so I only did walking.
Well, that was walking distance away.
That was?
Yeah,
I don't recall walking out that far.
You can walk to the art museum pretty easily. It was like half a mile. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I used to walk. I walked from Temple to Drexel.
Wow.
Yeah, through North Philadelphia. Yeah, I would walk from Temple to Drexel.
I know I walked from 30th Street up, and the one night we were talking before St. Patrick's Day, we walked from 5th and Pine all the way up.
Yeah, we're at 5th and Pine
to the house, but I don't recall going to the Cheetah Lounge. I know we went to U of P campus a lot, and I drank a lot in Kavanaugh's too. Because that was on our campus.
Yeah, Kavanaugh's was it's gone now, but that was right on Market. Was that right on Market?
It was
or Chestnut.
I think it was Market. It was Chestnut, Market or Chestnut, one of them.
And then there was a restaurant attached. There was a bar. The Kavanaugh's was.
It was like a bar, but then you went through a door, and then it was a bar restaurant. They were both.
Yeah, there was the Kavanaugh's, the one where only the college kids went to.
Right.
Or it was like, and then you went over to it. There was a nicer bar on the other side. What?
Yeah. Because they would have, but see, the thing is, their ID policy was not the best in the world, because I was drinking there when I was 18, 19, 20.
Yeah, well, and in all, almost, there were like 7, 8 bars in University City. You just showed your college ID to. One was
right.
God, what was it? Dr.
There was
Doc
Pagano's.
Watson's.
Doc Watson, Pagano's, Kavanaugh's.
Pagano's at 38th.
Yeah, that was up on U of P's campus, so we went there a lot too.
Smoking Joe's.
Yeah, Smoking Joe's.
And
Doc Watson's, yeah.
And then you could get beer at the Drexel Pizza.
Yes.
Drexel Pizza you could go in and get. That was pretty much it. There was how many? Wait, Kavanaugh's on either side.
Right.
Right. Pagano's. There was a place. God, there was a place right on UOP. Couple bars on UOP. Years later, I went to one that University of Pennsylvania they had a very beautiful campus.
Yeah.
And I had my naval science classes there, my military science classes there, and on Saturdays before football games, they'd have warm-ups, and they had they called them warm-ups at the where we met for Navy ROTC in the rec area, and they'd have like a huge tubs full of imported beer, and it was crazy cheap. It was like, I don't know if it was a quarter or 50 cents. It was about the same price as the we come in there with $5 and you get like 10 bottles of beer.
Yeah.
And then all the Penn guys would go to the game, and I think I may have went to 2 Penn games, but I would just hang out and talk. I talked to one of the Secretary of the Navy one time, who was hanging out.
Cool.
Yeah, well, I mean that's what they did. They got all drunk and stuff like that. And then you talk to an admiral or something like that on University of Penn campus. And there was a guy who was the director of the CIA. He was an admiral.
Nice.
Oh yeah, boy, it's wonder how we won the Cold War. When you met all these guys. Yeah, and you go in. But in those days, this is before they West Philadelphia. All those areas are all fixed up now. The train stations and everything, they're beautiful. They're beautiful. But 30th Street Station was, you'd go in there and it was a big deal. They put a McDonald's in it. Now they have you been in there recently?
I was there a couple of years ago. I stayed in the city, and I rented it. Instead of getting a car at the airport, I wanted to get one from 30th Street Station, so I had to go up there and kind of walked around for a little while just to check it all out.
They had a real shady bar in there years ago.
Yeah.
But now they got these beautiful, got like high-end coffee bars, regular bar, cocktail lounge, a couple bars in there.
Yeah.
More than a few restaurants. Flower shop, ice cream, fast food places, all over the place. So you go into 30th Street Station, it's packed now. It used to be like those areas were empty. But there's no empty spaces now. You go to Suburban Station, you don't have to go anywhere.
Yeah.
Really. For anything, if you're going inside there, you used to have to walk across the street. There was a bar across the street at the post office. That post headquarters was there. There was an old bar in there. I don't know if it's still in there. And but that was pretty cool because you're only like 3-4 blocks away. And,
right.
Yeah, it was funny talking to some of the girls down there though, because you could tell the girls, there's some. I have to say there were some good-looking girls on the University of Pennsylvania campus, but it didn't seem like a lot of them. I don't know if you recall. And at Drexel, there was, I lived in the dorms and there was a couple really cute girls there, but I guess, I know I wasn't any great shakes, but some people just thought a lot more themselves when they're going to an engineering school.
Yeah.
Right. Did they have that design school? And thank God for the design school. There were some good-looking girls going to design school.
Right.
And some of those business majors were hot. So,
Right.
and every so
Yeah.
often you get a pretty cute looking engineering. I dated a girl in high school who ended up being uh, I dated her in high school and she never really, I took her to my senior prom. She really didn't like me, Pat. And never went out again. Right. And then I'm going to Drexel and I'm talking to my buddies and I said, "Oh, I used to go out with that girl and she's a nice looking girl, isn't she? Yeah. Yeah. She barely talks to me. I said hi to her and all that stuff. And then I think Alice, my sister-in-law, was her in the same sorority.
Delta Zeta.
Yeah. And she said, "Oh, she had a crush on you." And I said, "Really?" She never, she never talked to me after that. I'm like, that's an odd way. I'd see her. I think she ended up being um, some mechanical engineer for Bell and Howell, the
Wow.
helicopter
Nice.
manufacturer. Yeah,
Yeah.
pretty high end stuff when he worked for the Defense Department. But
That's right.
how about the friends you made there? Yeah, you still in touch? I mean, you and I obviously are in touch.
Well, my friends, I didn't really have a lot of friends outside of the fraternity.
Uh huh.
A couple of the people that I knew from the dorms joined other fraternities.
Yeah.
But most of my college friendships were from the fraternity.
Uh huh.
And look, I mean, like most things, when I moved on, I didn't graduate. I left before, graduating. It just, for some reason, college just wasn't for me at that time in my life.
Uh huh.
And, I went off, I just started working and my jobs took me one place to the other. Before you know it, I was living in Hawaii and moved back, from Hawaii, I moved to Vegas, and, before the internet, I had no way of getting a hold of people. There was a couple times I ran into, I think through snail mail, a few folks had my address and kept in touch with me. I did see Ted, in the early 90s, I believe. I visited him. He was down in Towson, Maryland by then, and I was in his wedding, as you know. So and there was a few other folks from my pledge class that I kept in touch with. But after a while, you just move on. Your life takes over, and once Facebook came around, I reconnected with all these people from high school and from college, and now I'm following. I don't know how many guys are on the Facebook page from our fraternity, but I can kind of see what's going on in their lives now and comment back and forth, through that. So I think that's really cool. It's the only thing I really use it for is to keep in touch with people I otherwise probably wouldn't make the effort to keep in touch with, because if it was a manual process, with stamps and writing.
Yeah, that's right. And back in I think that is the revolution of the computer age, where
Yeah.
or the telecom age, or you call it social networking age. That's probably more
Right.
that. In the old days, if you even go back to you don't have to go back that far, but maybe the early part of the 20th century, when people came over here to the United States, that was it. You never saw them.
Yeah.
When someone came over here from the mother country, they didn't go back and visit if they were working class. They didn't have the money to go and book passage. That was
right.
They
right.
threw all the money in there, and every so often, they may strike it rich, and maybe they could go back. But now my wife, who's Polish, she talks to her sister in Spain and her sister in Poland, and all the time, almost every day, face to face. Where people, even if you live across town, if you think about it, 140 years ago, it was a pretty big deal when someone moved, out of town.
Yeah.
Well,
look, even when I moved to Hawaii, that was a big move for me to go from Philadelphia all the way to Hawaii.
Yeah.
And it was, that's a long distance phone call. And they didn't have long distance phone plans. They didn't have cell phones.
Were you dating anybody before you went to Hawaii?
No, I wasn't. But I did meet somebody out there.
No, wouldn't that be kind of funny if you said, you're going like this, I'm getting a job in Hawaii. We can still stay together. We'll just that's more than bi-coastal.
No, I actually say no. I wasn't dating somebody, but I had gone on a couple of dates with this girl I met. And I took her out a couple of days, a couple of dinners here and there, and it seemed like things were going well. And then one night I was driving her home, and I kind of brought up that, hey, I got this opportunity in Hawaii, and I was thinking of maybe moving there. And she didn't say anything, but then I got dropped her off, and then when I called her up for like a next date, she wasn't taking my calls anymore.
Oh, but
she must have figured no future with this guy. He's talking about moving out of the city already.
That's why I get a kick out when I see a science fiction story and the guy's dating a girl on another planet, and then goes, "I'll be back," like that. I'll be back. That's another planet. Yeah. They go away, or in Star Trek, and they go, "Oh yeah, I'm going to go getting." I never understood. I know people do it, but people that have to leave the country for jobs that get married.
Well, I did that when I went to Asia. Yeah, but I wasn't married.
To get married and then leave the country. Do you have a job that leaves the country?
Oh, yeah.
What are you doing?
Yeah.
What are you?
Yeah.
Well, I mean, yeah, you could probably be successful, but that's a lot of work. That's a lot of work.
And look, you have to. Look, but if the woman's well, sometimes not always the woman. If the man, sometimes the woman gets the job and the man has to go. But if everybody's in agreement, and you can make it work, then you do it. But you got to talk about it. You can't just say, "Oh, by the way."
Yeah. Hey, you know what, Pat?
I had no problem leaving because I was single.
Well, you know what? Let's keep this to Delta Iota because I want to talk a whole bunch next time about your jobs in Hawaii and Asia, in Macau.
Yeah.
So we'll save that for another time because I don't want.
All right. Well, then, let me go back to Delta Iota. I got a story that we can tell.
Well, let's hear it.
Speaking of Kavanaugh's, back, I used to go in there all the time as an underage, drinker. And then the one time that they raided the bar, state police came in, they raided the bar. They had us all sitting there. They didn't cuff us or anything, but nobody could move. They turned on all the lights. Nobody could move. And one by one, they sat us down and they questioned us and asked for our IDs. And I was 21 at the time, but I didn't have a driver's license because I had never really gotten a driver's license up to that point because I didn't really need one. I was living on campus and whatnot. So I had no ID with my birthday on, like a legal ID. And the guy's questioning me, and they were sending people to lockup. Then they were going to have the parents come and get him. And I'm like, dude, I'm 21 years old. He's like, well, you don't have an ID. I said, yeah, but I'm 21 years old. And the card that I played was my mother worked for the Pennsylvania Liquor Control Board. And the enforcement arm of the LCB was the state police, but it was technically answered to the LCB. And my mother was nobody big. She was basically a general manager of a liquor store. And I told him, I said, if my mother, my mother's a general manager. I said, you can check it in your books and to see that I'm not lying. And I said, her name's Pat Hogan. I said, but I wouldn't be in here as an underage drinker because it would jeopardize her job if I got busted. I said, just check it all out. Take all my information down, check it out. So there's no need to put me in lockup. I'm 21. So the guy bought my story. I wasn't lying, but they let me go.
No, well, it was a lie where you said you wouldn't be in here because you jeopardized her job, right?
No, but see, the thing is, that was a lie. But I was 21 at the time, so it didn't matter. They didn't bust me when I was there. All those years I was there drinking underage, they never busted the place. They waited until I was 21 to come in.
I have a Pagano story. It was 25-cent hot dogs and beer night at Pagano's.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, I forget. I think it was like it was a freshman year. So I went down there and I'm talking to this. Well, I thought she was beautiful at the time. This brunette. She was in this tight leather skirt, sitting at the bar having a drink, and I sat up there with my Heineken. I went right up there and went to talk to her. As soon as I went, I knocked the beer over and went right fucking on her lap.
Nice.
The first thing, yeah, that was my move, and I just spun that chair around and walked away. Right there, I was like up, back, and the guys. I don't even know if I had to be with some guys, but they were just amazed that I was walking up to somebody.
Yeah.
I think at that time they thought I was like a superhero. I think because the guys who used to hang out with were kind of nerdy.
If that girl has a podcast, she's telling a story about Yeah, I was at Pagano's one night, and this asshole spilled the beer on me.
He just turned around and walked away. Didn't say anything.
Yeah.
That was me. I confess. Well, Pat, I think we had a pretty good show here. It's 45 minutes.
It's about 47 minutes, yeah.
Okay. Well, no, 45 minutes we started recording.
Yeah, okay.
This is here. You don't know that on this end. So I'm going to say goodbye right now. Wait. We'll just listen to music. Maybe I'll say we'll be quiet. We say our goodbyes, and I'll talk to you later. Hey, are you coming down on Saturday?
No, I got a delivery coming that I wasn't prepared for.
Okay.
They called me today.
Okay, just remember though all the Thanksgiving and Christmas. Okay.
I will.
Okay, buddy. This is Jim the
Been a
Keys
pleasure.
Bartender, and here with Pat Hogan. Thank you, Pat Hogan.
It's my pleasure. Do it again. Talk about bartending next time.
Okay.
Goodbye.
Bye.